Hello and welcome to the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. We bring you interviews from people who have conquered the trickiest of health challenges using the functional diagnostic nutrition philosophy and similar healing modalities. You're going to hear from experts who have been through the ringer with their health issues and yet managed to come out on the other side. You can always visit us at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com, but for now, here is today's episode. All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My name is Evan Transu, aka Detective Ev, and I will be your host for today's show, episode number 386 of the Health Detective Podcast, first one of the new year in 2025, and we're starting you guys off right. Before we get into what we're talking about today, though, you know I got to invite you to this special event if you've been listening at all over the last month or so. So Reed loved what we did with the HICS conference in October of 2024, where we got almost 100 FDNs in person at, again, the HICS conference, which was hosted by Jeremy Maleka in beautiful San Diego, California. Well, we're doing the East Coast version of that, February 28th and March 1st. That's a Friday and Saturday, respectively, at the Biohacker Expo. Now, the difference between this one and HICS is I'm looking at the numbers already. We definitely expect well over 100 FDNs there, plus some of your favorite staff members. Hopefully, I'm included in that. We'll see once we get there, I suppose. Elizabeth Gaines, Education Director, will be on the main stage. Reed and I will be doing a business workshop for actually 90 minutes. I think that's the second day of the conference. So we would love to see you guys there. And because we're planning on bringing so many FDNs and because we are a main stage sponsor, Sandy Martin, the person who is hosting this conference, was nice enough to give us 50% off all the tickets. So if you go to biohackerexpo.com and use code HDP, like Health Detective Podcast, biohackerexpo.com, HDP, that gives you 50% off. And if you guys need someone to split a hotel room or you want to do an Airbnb or something, go in the FDN trainee group or go in the FDN grad group and post about this stuff. You can shoot me a direct message as well. I actually just had someone I saw right before this podcast. I will get back to her. And she's in South Florida and she's looking for someone to possibly carpool with or room with. So there's always a way to make this happen. We would love to see you guys there, February 28th and March 1st in beautiful Miami, Florida. Our guest today, we're going to be talking probably about a few things, just because if you've ever been on a podcast with me, you know I can't help but get into a few things. But this gentleman was on, I had Reed on his podcast recently. And in addition, I kind of wanted to start the new year off right. And so it was kind of perfect timing with his scheduling, because we're going to focus on more of the financial side, but also there's kind of this, I don't want to call it just personal development, because I think people mix that in with just classic self-help. Let's just, you guys follow me on this one and watch where this goes. I think you'll enjoy it. So today we have the privilege of welcoming Derick Gantt, an accomplished financial advisor, high-performance coach, author, and motivational speaker who has dedicated over 25 years to empowering individuals to achieve financial freedom and live their best lives. As the creator of the transformative 24K life philosophy, Derick combines his expertise with a heart-centered approach to help people overcome limitations, create abundance, and realize their true potential. He's the author of the 24K Life Code and a sought-after voice on how to manifest success unapologetically. Derick is here to share actionable insights that can change the trajectory of your life. Someone who actually walks the walk. Derick, welcome to the show.
Hey, Evan, or Detective E. Thanks for having me, bro.
How did it go with Reed? We always got to ask that first. So you had Reed on the podcast. What was that like?
Yeah, Reed is a force to be reckoned with, isn't he? It went great. I mean, it went so well. He was like, man, I need you to talk to our group about how you're balancing and how you recommend people balance their lives. So it went really well with Reed. I enjoyed it.
Yes. And so just so you guys know, you guys don't even always realize this. Some of your favorite guests that we ever have on are Reed's recommendation. And Reed does about 100 podcasts a year. So I don't mean in a bad way. It's not like 100 people get recommended a year. We'll put it in that way. So Derick, let's dive into this. I just want to know, because I normally start with the story. So if it's okay, I'd like to do that. How did you even get into this line of work? I mean, we got to talk on the phone, so I already know your energy and how passionate you are about this, but I don't think people always understand what might have led to someone getting into this type of stuff. So why finance? Why self-mastery? Why is this important to you?
Absolutely, man. You know, it's an interesting story, funny story, at least to me. I'm 58 years old, so I've been in the game of the professional side of life a very long time. But before I was even in the professional universe, I had told myself before I was married, before I had kids, probably honestly before my first girlfriend, I said, when I'm a grown as adult, I want to be the dad that all the kids come to my house. I want to be the dad that everybody, that all the kids love and is around. And so, I went to work for a retail store, and I quickly realized that I couldn't be that guy because you work from 12 to 12. You work 12 hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or during the holidays, you work longer than that. And you weren't going to make enough money to really make that all happen. And so in my particular situation, what happened was that I had this family friend, a friend of my parents, who always seemed to be around the house at lunchtime, at least 2 or 3 times a week. And lunch would last forever, and you're just like, dude, where do you work? What do you do? He drove an amazing car. He wore suits every day, polished dude. And I'm like, I don't know what you do. But in my dad's circle, he was the wealthiest individual in the circle of all the friends in the community. I need to do what you do. And so, honestly, I left retail after a little over a year of economic slavery, because that's what they do, man. They work you to the bone. And because if you get paid hourly, you might actually make some money. But when you get salary and they work you for 14 hours, you're done. I mean, it's over. So I actually start talking to him. And the story goes that I went to the store manager's car to get her car out of the snow, to bring it up to the front door of the store. And she had paychecks all over her car, like on the floor. She was a slob. But I looked at, you can't help but look, right? I mean, you're talking about money's taboo. You can't help but look. So I looked at her pay stub, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is all she's making after being in this company for 5 or 6 years, and she's the boss. I'm like, there ain't no way I'm staying here. And so that propelled me to start looking at other opportunities. This particular gentleman was a financial planner for a prominent financial planning firm in Northwest Ohio. And so I interviewed and got the job, and I've been doing it ever since, 35 plus years.
That's awesome. I hope that this is clear to people that if you listen regularly, this is already clear. But if it's, gosh forbid, your first time tuning in, the reason that this has to do with our particular show is because so often what I see is our practitioners get into this line of work because their hearts are in the right place. They had health challenges, all this stuff. And then they realize that probably the best route, like honestly, the route that you're most likely to have success with is an entrepreneurial one.
Mm-hmm.
But there is so much that goes in to having success with that. And Derick, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, and probably Reed too, is part of Reed's story is he got into people like Stephen Covey and 7 Habits of Highly Successful People long before the health stuff.
Right.
I wasn't long before it. I've only been here so long on this earth. But 6 months before I ever touched anything with health, there was one thing that came before that, and it was personal development.
Yep.
I got involved with this group of young people. They were all like, 2 to 3 years older than me. So it was just old enough that I looked up to them and I respected them. I wanted to be a part of this group. But I was just young enough that I was so naive that I would do whatever they said. And so they gave me all these books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. At the time, Think and Grow Rich, things like this. I didn't know people wrote books that weren't fantasy. I thought, like there was textbooks in school, and then there was like Harry Potter. I did not know successful people wrote books and taught people everything that they've learned in their life for $11 frickin' dollars. Right?
Amazing, right? And then you look at like Norman Vincent Peale, and you look at the godfathers of personal influence, Dale Carnegie, and all those people, and you're like, wow, this has been going on for a minute, but only a few people dove into it.
Correct. And so whether you're doing the health coaching thing or something completely different, guys, there's this concept of like, I call it like living your life on fire with passion, with purpose, all this stuff. And that is how to live. We can't all be, it's almost the job itself. The title is almost irrelevant, right? It's the idea that we're going and doing something that we do not enjoy for the majority of our life. And it's okay if we have to start there, right? We all have to start somewhere. I've delivered for Amazon. I've done Uber. I've done Postmates. I've done all that stuff. But we have to have a goal to get out of it if we don't want to be there. We have to have some type of plan. So let's go to the next part of your story here, Derick. So you got into the financial planning. That does not necessarily mean that you're going to be someone that has, tons of energy and a huge presence to you. I already love it, even virtually, and doing motivational speaking. In fact, with all due respect, some financial planners can be a little dry. So there's a whole separate side of you here. How did you become this, Derick?
Yeah. So the second phase is I have a brand called the 24K Life, and I wrote this book called the 24K Life Code. And the reason why Reed was so interested in having me on the podcast is because the book is about how you balance the 5 core pillars of your life. I mean, and you can't do without any one of the pillars. Of course, there's finance, there's fitness, there's your mindset, there's your spirituality, and there's your relationships. And so if you were to say, well, which one of those am I going to forego? You're screwed, because you don't want to be rich and unable to walk up a flight of stairs, right? You don't want to be able to be super fit and be broke. You don't want to have everything but not have people like you because you're an ass. I mean, so you need all of them. And like yourself, Evan, I read all of those books over the course of the year, starting back, like I've already mentioned, with some of the greats. And what I realized through modern personal development and historical personal development is that a lot of people tell you their story, and they insinuate, if you do it the way I did it, you're going to be like I am. And I just don't believe it, because, your mom may have sat you in a corner, but my mom beat me with a switch, right? So, some people grew up in a single family, some people grew up in a dual family. So we all have, the point becomes that we all have these immensely different experiences that dictate who we are. If you listen to someone like Tony Robbins, and he talks about how broken his relationship was with his mom, but without that broken relationship, he wouldn't have become Tony Robbins. So, so you see the parallels in the walk that we have to go through in our journey. And so my book is about the tools that you need to implement to maintain balance. Yes, I give some life examples of how I was able to do it, and how I actually do it. And most people don't believe I'm 58. Most people my age are old and decrepit and fat and slow and unmotivated and have no vitality or energy, as we call it. And I seem to be the opposite, because I practice this vitality that you were talking about, because without health, you have nothing, right? And then without wealth, it's hard to make your health go further, right? You can be healthy, but you want to make it go further. You want to eat right. You want to implement the tools. You want to be able to hire you all as coaches to help me be better. And people need money to do that. So my mission is to help people figure out their money component so they can balance the rest of their life and live at a much higher level.
I like that you mentioned those other areas as well, because there's two types of people that I think about in my head. There, in terms of hyper success, there are these people that have these isolated versions of success. I can think of, and I'm sure the audience can as well, I can think of people that have all the money in the world, but did not take care of these other things, whether it's relationships, health,
Right.
or whatever. But I can also think of a lot of people that, and I've just been fortunate enough to meet these individuals from conferences or whatever it might be throughout the years, that no, man, they kind of nail all the areas. And it's like, you almost look at it as the average person sometimes, especially when I was starting out, I'm like, how on earth could you have just gotten lucky in all of those areas? And I had to humble myself at 18, which 18-year-old Ev, that was especially hard, and say, like, it can't just be luck for multiple categories. I could buy that maybe you got great genetics, and that's why, you're jacked and don't eat well, and still get away with that without eating well. But there's no way all of these are an accident. So what are some of the core things, in your opinion, that lead to people having success in multiple domains? Because you're right, and one of these by themselves is nothing. You want all of them together.
You need them, right? You don't, you don't want to miss one, because your life's miserable in that area. And if you want to know why wealthy people, some wealthy people seem to be doing some really crazy stuff, is because they're missing one of those. Maybe their spirituality's off and they don't have any values, or something's off, which is why they're not happy. And so, for me, everything starts with mindset. And I know it's cliche, and I know it sounds cliche, but if someone comes to me and their money's messed up, I will never say to them, hey, your mindset's messed up, right? Because people believe their head's screwed on right, and you're not going to tell them any different. But the reality is that other than a condition, right? A condition that you were born with, almost everything else is within your control, right? Because we know what sugar does to the body. We know what stress does to the body. And so when we take a look at your health, unless you have a condition, it's in your control. You're eating too much crap, or you're not getting off the couch, or there's some symptoms there. But mindset is the true core secret. When they say the secret, let me tell you the secret. Well, no matter what they say, it's your mindset. And what happens, Evan, is that no matter what people say, they have a scarcity mindset. Only so many people are healthy. Only so many people can be wealthy. Only so many people can be happy. Only so, so they don't look at it and go, there are people who have all 5 of those. Why can't I be one of them? Let me dig in and figure this ish out. Let me figure it out. Because if I'm going to go to work and work a 9 to 5, and then I'm going to try to be a coach in my spare time, understanding that I truly want to be happy, then you're going to be tired. You're going to go through some things, but you have to focus on making sure that the time, the investment, and the money that you generate from that time and investment is being put to its best use, so you can ascend away from the 9 to 5. But if you just create more money problems, then you're just going to stay where you are. And so one of the biggest tools is understanding that as individuals, we have over 70,000 thoughts. And of those 70,000 thoughts, 95% of them are about ourselves. We think about ourselves. And so that just means that we're only thinking about other people. About 3,500 of those thoughts today are about other people. So if you have negative self-talk, if you have a negative outlook, if you have a scarcity mindset, you are shooting yourself in the foot every day you wake up. When you wake up and you set an alarm clock and you don't get your ass out of bed, you're telling yourself, I'm a loser. I just lost today. Or I just lost this morning. So give you an example. You asked me what one of the tools that I talk about in the book. Cut the alarm clock off. I mean, if you're not going to get up when it goes off, cut it off. Or set it at a time that you know for a fact that you're going to get up so you can have that very first win for the day. Because it is a mindset that perpetuates itself throughout the course of the day.
I love that. I think there's a famous speech online by some, I think, admiral, and he talks about, making your bed first thing in the morning. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I love being able to converse with people who just know what I'm talking about right away. It's the best.
I've seen that. I love that.
Yeah. But the point is, though, and this is a personal opinion, but I think you'd agree with it. I look at our days as, and then it translates to weeks and months and years, of course, but our days have a momentum or lack thereof. And it starts with the morning stuff. If there's all these people that are going out, they work out first thing, they got their food together, whatever, and they've done more in the first 3-4 hours of their day, realistically, than most people are going to do with the entire 16 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're special necessarily or superhuman. Right. Yes, there are people that are highly intelligent, and obviously that helps. But there's plenty of people doing this that are one-time average people and then figuring this out. And I think now there's so many distractions and so many reasons, like even to use your example specifically, to stay in bed. Not only are you probably tired, right? If you're waking up too early and that alarm scaring the crap out of you, but what's the first thing I can go do now when I wake up? I can have my attention, my dopamine, all my good stuff stolen from this phone. First thing when I wake up, you do an hour of scrolling, your brain's shot, and you wonder why you get nothing done the rest of the day. So what would be a good thing, though, for someone to start with? And I know that you already suggested that everyone's path might look a little bit different, but if I can ask, I'd love to know, for someone that has as much energy as you, what the heck does the morning look like for you? Are you reading, exercising? What happens?
Yeah, I'm happy to share my morning. I'm also happy to say that, I don't think that there's a right or wrong. I think it's whatever you believe, goes back to your mindset. Whatever you believe you need to do to be amazing, and you own that 1,000%, you'll be amazing. Think about those people that have the incredible confidence. They still are negative people, but they win. And it's because they believe being the way they are will get them the results that they want. So my morning, I'm a nut, dude. I wake up. First of all, let me preface it by saying I go to bed at about 11 o'clock. So I get into bed 10:45. I'm out 5 minutes later, 11 o'clock or so. I'm out. I wake up naturally about 5 o'clock. Feet hit the floor. I do the basics: bathroom, brush my teeth. I start moving my body a little bit. Have a glass of water to get my blood, my body's moving. And then personally, I hit the gym, either at home or the actual gym. Now, working out at home is a new thing since the pandemic, because I would only hit the gym in the past. But I have enough equipment at home or at the gym, so I will do one of the two depending on what my workout is for the day. I will come home, I'll jump in the hot tub and stretch, clean up, get dressed for my day. I take a look at my schedule to see what my day is going to be like, how much what's cooking. Now, notice I haven't scrolled on my phone yet. I haven't even looked at that thing yet. Okay. 5 a.m. Nobody's up. Nobody wants to talk to me. Anybody sent me a message, you can wait because they're still asleep. So I haven't even looked at that. And then I get quiet time. Some people are intimidated by saying meditation or prayer. Basically I pray for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then I meditate for 20, 30 minutes. So I get about 45 minutes of quiet time in. And then I sit down after that because usually something's coming to me about what I need to do. And I'm kind of old school, so I have a planner, and I write down in my planner, I write down my thoughts for the morning. I write down whatever came to me in my meditation, like, do I need to call a certain client? Because I think we're led to be great. That still small, quiet voice, that inner voice will tell you what's popping off for you that's vital. And a client's name will pop in my head, or something I really need to address, or maybe I forgot about. So I'll write that down in my planner. And basically by mapping out my day in my planner, so I have my appointments, I have my to-dos, I have my master goal, I have my short-term goal. And my master goal is the same every day, but I write it down every day. It's part of that belief system. When you write it down, it becomes real. And so I'll map this all the way out. And then I will grab a shake or something like that. And then probably by 8, 9 o'clock, I will check my email, maybe check Twitter or something like that. And then I'm off to the races with my normal day.
Okay, we could spend probably hours dissecting each part of that. There's one thing that you said, though, that I don't get the opportunity to bring up enough here. So I want to go to this. It's your master goal. And the fact that you actually write that down every single day.
Every day.
Listen, I'm not really politically correct at all, but I don't want to offend anyone with this, because I know especially we have an audience that generally is much older than myself. So there's nothing like a 29-year-old talking to them about money. They love that. But the one thing I will say is this: if you go to almost anyone and you ask them, would you appreciate some more money? I don't mean being a glutton and just, trying to be some rich SOB that doesn't care about other people. Not the stereotype that the media sells you. I'm just saying, would you like some more money to help your family do something good? Everyone would say yes. Now, what happens, though, in my opinion, I don't even think people are trying. Now, that's the part that if you said that to their face, like, what are you talking about? I work my butt off. I'm like, okay, I didn't say that you didn't work hard. Have you ever actually, you want to be a millionaire, let's say that. Did you ever actually take 5 minutes to write down, I would like a net worth of $5 million by the age of 40 years old?
Right.
And the plan that would be necessary to get there, try to execute that and fail. Have you ever done something as simple as that? Or do you just mean that you're just going through life kind of whimsically and, oh my gosh, my net worth never hit 5 million? Well, it's like, no crap, man. You're a ship out at sea and you have no goal. There's no map. You're just like setting sail. So yeah, 1 out of 1,000 people will hit land and you'll hit the 5 million, right? But most people are not going to hit anything because they weren't aiming at anything. So obviously master goals, especially if it's a larger goal of life, that might be a deeply personal thing. But can I ask, like, if this is a hugely long-term thing, how do you measure progress on a weekly basis? Do you review monthly, or how does that work if it's this master goal that's probably a life goal?
Yeah. First of all, bro, if your audience wasn't paying attention, I told everyone that I'm 58. I don't have no fucking long-term goals. My goals are right now, bro. I mean, my master goal is right now. So to answer your question, my master goal, it revolves around, and this is what I think people, specifically business owners, and specifically mothers, and I know it might be a little sexist, but I deal with thousands and thousands of people over the 30 plus years that I've been working. But people are too unselfish. They're too focused on everything else other than themselves. And you're 1,000% right. If you ask them, what do you truly, truly want? They can't express it in words. They have a feeling, they can't express it. So for me, my master goal usually revolves around finance, because whatever stage you are in your life, your master goal is going to be dictated by what's wrong. So I got my health in order. I got my finances in order. I have my relationships in order. I hired a spiritual coach about 4 years ago, and I was doing really well. I was raised in the church and did the church thing, but I felt I was missing some spirituality. So I hired a coach, just like each and every one of you coaches want to be hired and you're going to walk someone through the process of elevating their life. I'm doing the same thing. So for me, as I transition from being a money manager and managing millions of dollars for individuals, I don't want that responsibility anymore. The older I get, you can call it retirement, but my retirement plan is to do podcasts to help people inside of our 24K Life community. And so my master goal is to have 4,000 people inside of our 24K Life community. And so that's by the end of the year. Okay. So I always set my goals with an end date. If you don't have an end date, it's not a goal. You're just daydreaming. So I have this goal and I set my master goal and it stays the same until I reach it. So if I had the goal last year and I didn't reach it, I'm going to reset it day one. You asked me, well, when do you revisit that? Bro, on my planner, one of the things on my planner is a checklist. It says, did you rest? Did you meditate? Did you exercise? Did you eat properly? Your net worth or your net work. So all those things are things I have to check mark that I did the day before. And then the last thing is recalibrate. So I have to analyze my day every day and say, do I need to adjust anything going towards my master goal? And so when I mentioned my master goal and my short-term goals, we're not adjusting the master goal. We're adjusting the short-term goals to get to the master goal. So do I need to adjust any of those based on what happened today or up to this point? And I will adjust my goals based on that. And so give you an example. One of my short-term goals might be I want to drop 10 pounds, right? Well, how does that relate to my master goal? For me, if I don't have enough energy, vitality, if I'm not confident enough, I'm not looking good enough, feeling good, you look good, you feel good, you play good, you win. So if I'm not doing that, that affects my master goal. And so I'm looking to recalibrate or consider recalibration on a daily basis.
Guys, I see quite a few of you on. It's so funny because this community, we'll talk about the wackiest health issues, and you guys are very vulnerable. We'll say that. But I know when it comes to money, it's a whole different thing. I want you to feel safe here. Please, if you have questions directly for Derick about money mindset, or maybe even just sharing a comment of something that you struggle with, I'd love to see that in the chat. Let me know. So, Derick, one thing that you mentioned was your group, and obviously people could join that. But another thing that I wanted to talk about today, because this is important to you, is the idea of these support systems and accountability, which I'm assuming is something that they could probably get in that group. But so let's do this in two parts. One, why is having an accountability system so important? And then two, how could they get that from maybe someone like you and what you offer?
Yeah. So let me give you a great example, man. This is hilarious. So I recently sold it, but I owned a spin studio. So it's a studio. There's spin bikes in there. People come in there, they want to exercise. And so, and I'm an aggressive dude, right? I'm an ex-football player. I'm 6'3". I'm a big guy, and I'm the instructor. And at 5 a.m. when I'm teaching this class, 5 or 6 a.m., it might as well be 5 p.m. because I am on fuego, man. I am on fire, right? So you're teaching this class, and I'm the kind of instructor, I'm getting off my bike, and I'm coming to stand next to you, and I'm going to look at your monitor and see how hard you're working. And then I'm going to talk shit about you if you're not. Right. And I'm going to ask you, were you sick last night? Did you drink? Were you drinking? And I'm on a microphone so everybody can hear me. You got those headsets on. Everybody can hear everything that's going on. Like, hey, did you stay out too late partying last night? And so here's your answer to your question about accountability. When I get off my bike and I go stand, I don't even have to say anything, Evan. When I go stand next to the person, whoever I'm standing next to, their output increases significantly. Significantly. Mm-hmm. So being accountable shows you that you are kind of just going along with the flow, and there is more of you to get out of you. And if you think you're the best person in the room, if you think you're the smartest person in the room, if you think you're the wealthiest person in the room, you will never progress. You don't need an accountability partner. You need to go off in a corner and stand by yourself. But the rest of us, tell me who that is an amazing person, athlete, whatever you want to say, doesn't have a coach.
Bingo. Can't name one.
Tell me, name one. Tony Robbins says, I have, if you listen to his books or read his books or listen to, he charges $1 million. This was years ago. He probably charges more now. $1 million a year to 7 people that he mentors. But then he has mentors, and those 7 people mentor him also because he's mentoring them in one area. And these are, heads of Fortune 500 companies that are clients of his that are mentoring him. If you want to get ahead, you need to be accountable and you need to be open-minded enough to know you don't know everything. And there's somebody that can help you elevate. So it's critical, bro.
I love this. I was going to say, for myself, and this is probably, I think my health people can relate to it here. We get some of us have gotten so sick, and that what might look like discipline with the health stuff to other people ends up becoming kind of easy for us. Like, I'm a 29-year-old guy, dude. I've been gluten-free for 8 years. Do you think I want to do that? No. But because I felt so much better with all these health conditions that I had going off of it, amongst many other changes that I made, it's not even discipline. It was effortless. Every other area of my life, though, I have realized outside of this health one, the health one, for whatever reason, I can do that. Everything else, I am better when there is someone else there. And I recognize that. And then, so listen, I'm not at a place yet where I can afford to have coaches for, the 20 different areas in my life that I want, but I decide what are the most important ones. So I always get someone out helping out with finance. I think that's important for me. Yep. Another thing was I got a coach for mixed martial arts. Why? Because the training sucks. I don't want to go ever. Right. It is awful, right? But I love the way that I feel as I accumulate this skill, especially you get this as a guy, right? You want to know that stuff. You probably love being 6'3" and strong. These are good things to have as men. So what I do is I say, you know what, dude? And he actually just fought the co-main event at Bare Knuckle Fighting, Bare Knuckle Fight 66. So I go to him 13 minutes down the road. I pay him every single time I'm there. I feel like a you-know-what in comparison. Yep. And it gets me better because I am never going to practice with that consistency that I would if I didn't have that guy in my life. So I think that's so important. And I don't even think you got to mention those. So how could people get that from your group? Because if you have a goal to have thousands in there, I'm assuming there's some way that they can get accountability probably within that group.
Absolutely. It's a community. It's a true community. So we have a variety of coaches in there. So we have life coaches, we have some nutrition people, we have some fitness people. I'm the money guy. And so, it's a resource hub for people to kumbaya together as they elevate for 24K life. We don't allow mediocrity. You said something earlier and I love the way you cleaned it up, but you were talking about setting your goal and then having a plan and then trying to implement it, even if you fail. And, we say, saying the word trying allows you to fail with honor. So you can say, oh no, but I tried. And one of my wealthiest clients ever told me one day, he told me, I asked him, I did him a favor. And he says, what can I do for you? I said, tell me, he asked me to help this employee of his. And so I met with them and I said, tell me one thing that your boss tells you that, is the most meaningful thing for you, because I wanted it inside his head, right? And she said to me, she goes, well, in every meeting he says, did you mop the floor, right? That's not important if you mop the floor or not. What's important is the floor clean? So you can say you did something. Did you do it well? Did you do it right? And basically there was this concept of, I don't care what your intentions are. I only care about the results. And so what I think that your audience, your coaches, from what I can tell from the people that I work with and other coaches, is that they're so giving. They're so intent on other people becoming better that they don't take their own. They're a doctor, and a doctor's is the worst patient. And so when we take a look at finances, it's like, are you managing your resources to get you to the point to where you can focus all of your attention on this 100% of the time, right? Because that's what you say you really want to do. So back to your point, I might not be great at the spirituality thing. I was falling short, but I'll tell you what, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to invest time going on the internet, going down rabbit holes to try to find out where I'm supposed to go. I don't have time for that. I am going to pay this person who is an expert in this field that I trust, because you have to interview people. And once I found someone that I really connected with, I hired them and they coached me for a year on spirituality. It was one of the better things that I've done. And this is after having 40 plus years of of Pentecostal church and going to Catholic grade schools and colleges. And so I had religion up the wazoo, and I'm a huge believer, but I still knew I had a hole in my spiritual side. And so I hired somebody for that, man. And that's what everyone needs to do. Needs to understand, like, you can come in our community and you can find something, or you can add something, because we don't have people like you inside of our community, because we're still expanding and we're looking for that. So, the community is called the 24K Life Code, and you can find it on Google store. You can find it on the Apple store. But the key that I can see, and the way I lead, is I lead with the finances, because if I can afford to hire you as a coach to help me with my health, that takes money. You're not doing it for free. And some of you are doing it for free. And now you can't grow your business, and you can't touch the thousands of people that you should be touching. So that's my take on it, bro. I just think that we've been bombarded with, being so giving and being so loving and being politically correct, that we can't say, hey, you're not managing your money right, because if you're in the same spot this year as you were last year, but you raised your income from coaching, there's a problem.
I learned that. I've shared this on the show before. I try to be transparent here. I think that helps out as a host, right? And it's funnier because I kind of knew that it was coming, because I read the books at 18. I had nothing. I had no debt, but I had no money, right? So I was like neutral at the time.
Right.
And the first time I caught myself, this was several years back. It was not that long ago. My income, because it was because I was focusing on building a career for so long, and then it's kind of like all that, the fruit of the labor all of a sudden manifests, right? You know how this is. It's like the bamboo tree analogy. It was literally that. And so my income tripled in 1 year.
Right.
And amazingly, Derick, there was the same amount of money left at the end of that year as there was in the beginning. Right. And I said, well, what the heck happened though? Yeah. Because there's 3 times more. And then, you know what? All of a sudden that studio apartment becomes a 2-bedroom, because gosh knows I need an office, right? Yep. Well, I need the second bathroom because I might have a guest. And so it's so easy to do that kind of stuff. So thank God I caught it quick, but I'm like, Evan, you SOB. Like I knew better. Yeah. I read about this stuff and it still caught me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask something different though, because I think both you and I, it seems that we share this. I think we're hustlers, and we have the energy to go out and get it. We're ethical people, moral people, but we still have the energy to go out and get it.
Right.
I'm curious though, because it seems like you said you've worked with a lot of people that have this overly giving thing, and we're not saying don't be a good person. That's not it at all.
No.
But why do you think so many people are like almost afraid to make money and build wealth for themselves? Because that's what it seems like. It seems like they're actually afraid.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked the question, because it was going to, I wanted to say something else on the other question, and this ties right into it. But dude, we're at war. There's a war. The war is between your wallet and everything else. I mean, I'm just telling you, we are at war. And I'm not talking about inflation. I'm talking about Amazon. How many people, go look at your charge card, or go look at your Amazon Prime account and see how many orders you made last year, and compare it to the number of orders you made the year before and the year before that. I mean, they are escalating, right? So the battle for you to spend money, yes, inflation is part of it. Yes, the cost of cars are part of it. But man, we do a lot of this to ourselves. And the thing about it, Evan, is that when I say we're at war, we have all been trained to make just enough money to keep it moving, right? We haven't been trained. Nobody trained you in grade school or high school or college to put savings up. Nobody trained you to prioritize your spending or your needs versus your wants. This stuff isn't drilled into you like other subject matters is. And it's because in our society, we need workers. And we need workers who have to work. And if you become wealthy, you don't have to work. And so we don't want that as a society. We want people going out there in the factories and the car lots and at the banks, and we want people working. And so that's why credit is so pervasive. That's why so many people have credit debt. It keeps you underwater enough that you have to get up and go to work. Because here's the thing, in your heart, you're a good person. In your heart, you're not going to file bankruptcy. You made this bill, you're going to pay it by hell or high water. So I got to go to work, and I don't care if I don't like my job. I don't care if my boss is yelling at me. I got to go to work. I got to feed my family. I got to pay this mortgage. You're not going to quit, right? 90% of people, 95% of people are not going to quit, but you're a worker. And so you just get stuck in this conundrum. And so then you say, hey, I've been watching all these people, and these people are just, going to see Reed, and they're actually becoming coaches, and they're actually spending their life, and they're spending their revenue, and they're helping people along the way, which is amazing. But no one ever taught you about being a business owner, number one, and no one taught you about being an employee of your own company. And you have to pay yourself, and you should take that money and stack it up. So when I have people, Evan, that are transitioning from a 9-to-5 to their own business, I have them do their best to not spend any of the business money except for business expenses. And every dime above that, we stack up. We put it away, put it away, put it away, put it away. Because what happens when you are actually making enough money to be in your own business, you can leave your 9-to-5 and you have a couple bad months. You need to have those reserves. So it's a way of training people to really understand how the game works and how to really get from one area, a 9-to-5, to becoming self-employed.
I hope the people that are watching this and listening to this right now and then in the future get why I go out of my way to try to bring these conversations to this, because when you get into the health stuff, like the deep holistic stuff, you gotta almost, I hate to be cheesy with it, but this is kind of the best way to say it. You almost have to see outside of the matrix, right? You've been taught that these foods are fine. You realize that they're overrepresented in impoverished communities, which is even more effed up when you think about it.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. And so you have to see outside of this and see that you are being poisoned almost. And then that's how you get into this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, wait. You already woke up one thing. It's hard enough to wake up anyone for one thing, right? But we already woke up over here. Now let's come to this financial side, and we're going to shake you up here as well, because it's the same thing that you were talking about. People, we shouldn't even necessarily get into this. Guys, you go look up how the 9-to-5 system was created. Go look up how the modern school day was created. Derick's not preaching conspiracy theories.
No, I'm telling you.
It was designed this way.
Dude, it's a fact. Schools are, you sit there and you go, well, I'm a math major. Why are they making me go to English? Why do I have to study history? Because they don't want you to be an expert in any one area. And I know it sounds like conspiracy because they're training workers. Like you said, the way school's set up, the same way workers set up. And every other part of the world, they take naps. Right. I mean, seriously, think about it. They take a siesta or a nap, or they have tea and crumpets. They do something to break the monotony of the stress, and they don't prioritize working over your health.
Correct. This might be needlessly cynical with it, but it is something I always think about. Like from 5 to 18, most of us are going to public school. Now, I know some people are popular. I get that. But even the most popular person in school, I've never met a kid that says, I cannot wait to do this for 180 days out of the year, Monday through Friday. No one wants that. And I almost believe that schooling system has a secondary benefit to people who want certain outcomes, that we're kind of trained from day one. You're not really supposed to like Monday through Friday. You're not supposed to have the privilege of enjoying Monday through Friday. And then, so think about this. We train you from 5 to 18. Then you go out into the world and you start getting paid for that Monday through Friday. You still don't like it, but oh my gosh, at least thank God I'm not getting bullied. Well, depends on your boss, I guess, right? But at least thank God I'm not getting bullied anymore. At least thank God I'm getting paid for this. So you almost accept something suboptimal just because by comparison, it might be better than a 13-year chunk of your life. Right. And then don't even get me started on the 4-year, 5-year party plan between the kindergarten, middle school, high school years and the actual workforce. That's when we'll rack up, especially in America, right? Student loans beyond belief. We'll drink that away. And sometimes these students, as many dumb decisions that I've made in my life, I thank God I have not made this one, using student loans to pay for the alcohol and the crappy food and the dumb stuff.
100%, man.
And now you're really stuck, bro.
You're really messed up. I don't judge, man, because I was a full scholarship athlete. So here's what I was always I was such an empath, and I am such an empath. So I would always pay attention to my associates, my friends, my other classmates that weren't on scholarship. and they were complaining about the cost of books. And they were complaining about man, I'm hungry and I don't have enough money to go eat and all the things. And so you look at that and you go, wow, you're 1,000% right. And then they would get a loan, and then all of a sudden they'd have more than enough money. And you're like, well, why are you getting a loan in the middle of the semester? Your school's paid for. It's like, oh, it's for next semester, but I need some money to eat and live on. And then they'd be broke. Exactly right. You're exactly right. I just really hope your audience understands that the role that they're taking as a coach in the health industry is the same role that they need someone else to take in their fitness life or in their financial life. And I'm not saying you need someone. I'm saying if you happen to be the one, let's say that you have a partner or a spouse that's really good at the other area. Well, then focus on the other areas that you're not good at and go get some help. And treat this, if you treat your business like a business and not like a hobby, and if you take it seriously, if you work harder for yourself than you do your 9 to 5, you're going to be the 10% that wins. And
That's
hey, Evan, I'm sure you've talked about the Pareto principle, haven't you?
Not on here.
Not on here?
No. Hit us with it.
Okay, the 80-20 rule. You talked about that?
I mean, I think people are familiar enough.
All right. So here's the deal for you business owners, right? For you coaches and for anyone else that's listening. So there's a rule, a principle called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. And what it says is that this Alfredo Pareto was a farmer and a scientist. And what he did was he did a study on these crops, these pea crops. We're talking in the 1800s. And what he noticed was that when he planted the crops, only 20% of what they planted was actually usable crops. So it became up with this 80-20 rule. So basically what it says is that only 20% of whatever initiated in the beginning is actually being used. So what that means is that if you have 100 people in your prospect list that you're talking to about becoming someone in your program, you're talking to 100 people, only 20 of them are going to actually end up in your program. The other 80, you're wasting your time. But what people do is they spend their time talking to the 80, not to the 20. And this applies in every aspect of life. And I'm going to prove it to you. When you get home today, go into your closet and separate the clothes that you wear on a regular basis and the stuff that you never wear. And I promise you, it's going to be 80-20. 20% of the stuff in your closet you wear, you use, you love, you have to replace, and the rest of it is ancillary stuff that you could do without. And so this rule proves that only 20% of the people listening are going to actually do something, and only 20% of those people are going to continue to implement the things that we're talking about. And that's why you get to the math of saying only 20% of the only 2% of all the wealth ends up with, or all the wealth only ends up with 2% of people in the world, because you take the 20 and you keep carving it down into the people that are taking radical ownership and radical action.
Yeah, I love the clothes thing, because I've actually never heard that used that way, and that's totally true. If I went into my closet, that is 100% facts. I also remember it's kind of a little bit of a different thing, but it should encourage people, should inspire them. I've listened to so many hundreds of hours of motivational tapes in my life, and Les Brown, he said something that he was listening to, some speaker when he was getting started off, and he's just like, the speaker said something along the lines of saying, only one of you is going to do this, only one of you is going to do this. And Les Brown's sitting there in the audience like, I'm the one.
Yeah, I'm the one.
And I remember listening to that kind of stuff. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be some famous person. That's not what we mean by the one. It's just the one that actually receives the message, the one that actually changes something as a result of new information and says, enough's enough. I'm tired of not having the finances order. I'm tired of having the bad relationship. I'm tired of having the bad health. I'm going to go get this figured out.
Yeah.
Derick, I have one more question for you, because we're going to go a couple minutes over, if that's okay. It's just because I wanted to ask this, because I think you embody this. One of the other things you talk about is living authentically. Yeah. I'm sure that's a whole podcast in and of itself, but if we can just give something here, I think that's, of all the things we've talked about today, that's the only thing I would be bold enough to say that I think I have nailed down. I think I'm me 100% of the time. What you see is what you get. Yeah. And you can sense that in people. And I can sense that with you. The first two sentences that you said on this podcast, how does someone else achieve that, especially if they might not have ever lived authentically in their life?
Yeah. You know, I was going to say, I hate to say this, and I don't hate to say it because it's true, but think about it, man. Finances has a lot to do, not everything, but has a lot to do with people being able to live authentically. When you have money and nobody can threaten your existence, you take on a different air. I'm just being honest, right?
Yeah.
You will eat humble pie all day by a brutal boss or a brutal system or whatever. But as soon as people win the lottery, what do? I'm out. I've always said I don't play the lottery, but if I played and won, I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm just going to be able to help thousands of more people because I have more money to invest in marketing and programs. But the reality is that being authentic, starts with you understanding who you are. And that takes a lot of work. And it sounds crazy, and you're right. We can get into a whole podcast about this. But what sets you off? Like what pisses you off? What triggers you in a negative way? And then what triggers you in a positive way? What turns you on? What makes you because motivation is fleeting, right? If you say, I'm going to do this and because I'm motivated, and you got to go listen to hundreds and hundreds of hours of personal development or motivational, and Les Brown is extremely motivating, and so is Tony Robbins and a bunch of other people. But if you need that to keep your engine going, you're in trouble.
Sure.
So being authentic is diving into what triggers you, what turns you on, and then figuring out how to overcome what's triggering you so that you don't get triggered in those ways, so that you can be more productive. Because if we go back to the 70,000 thoughts and we go back to the majority of those being negative about yourself, we got to turn that ship around, number one. And now you can sit back and you can say, this is who I am. This is what I'll put up with. This is what I won't put up with. This is where I'm going, and I'm going nowhere else. And Evan, just like any other thing, like working out at the gym, it takes exercise. You have to exercise your will. So when somebody comes to me and says, oh my God, you started your life as an insurance agent, you'd be great at selling these bottled waters, or you'd be great at selling this multi-level marketing thing, because I sold insurance. And people come to you, if you sell insurance, you can sell anything. Let's try this. And I'm like, no, can't do that. And I can't begin to tell you. I would start off by saying yes. We're talking when I'm 23, 24. I'd start off by saying yes, and then I just wouldn't do it. Now I'm a liar, right? Now I'm not trustworthy. Now I'm not a man of my word, and it would affect me mentally and in my heart. So then I had to figure out a way to say no. So then you start making excuses. And then the more your money came into solidity, I started saying, nope, not interested. And my friends to this day still come up to me. Maybe I haven't seen them in 10 years or 20 years, so they're associates or whatever. Hey, are you still doing the finance thing? Yep. And I'm honored to say, yep, after 30 plus years, that's all I do is help people figure out their financial disposition so they can tap into their greatness. Because once your money's set, you can go invest 100% into your authentic greatness, right? And there's only one of you. There's only one Tony Robbins. So I'm not watching Tony Robbins trying to be Tony Robbins. I've listened to thousands of Tony Robbins, thousands of Les Brown, but I'm not trying to be them. I'm trying to hear my voice and figure out what gifts God gave me, because he didn't give me the gift of fixing cars, bro, right? Or cutting grass or anything else. He gave me the gift to translate financial strategies into practical reality so people can live a comfortable life.
I think that's a very important one, especially for our coaches. Derick, I know that we've indirectly mentioned stuff. We always just ask this at the end, though. Where can people find you if they'd like to get connected, get the book, all that good stuff?
Yep, DerickGantt.com. We made sure we had a hub for you. It's Derick with one R, so it's Derick, DerickGant.com. You can get a copy of the book there. You can get access to the mobile app there. You can access our YouTube videos. But we're here to help people elevate and be amazing so that they can go back and give those gifts to the world.
All right, Derick. Now, normally I finish up the signature question. The real signature question is, what would people do for their health? But I got to throw this to finance. I just think that's appropriate today. So if you could wave a magic wand And you could get every single one of our viewers and listeners to do just one thing for their finance. So that means you can get them to start doing one thing, or you can get them to stop doing one thing. I got to ask, what's the one thing you'd get them to do?
Okay. Number one thing that I would get them to do is separate their checking accounts from their bills. What's a bill and what's their personal spending? So you could separate your gasoline, your groceries, your personal care, your poker money, your church money from your mortgage and your cars and your insurance. If you could separate those two, and then do this for the full year, what you're going to do is you're going to see, and you also have to set a spending limit in your spending account. You're going to see a lot more money. You're going to keep way more money than you had before. And let me help you with this. This is a health question, because the more money you have, the healthier you're going to be, because you're going to go hire that personal trainer if you're short. If you're having a problem losing your midsection, you're going to go to that organic store and you're going to go get your supplements, and you're going to hire and pay for Reed's classes. People are going to pay for you as a coach to help them elevate their life in that area. It's a health question. 100%, bro. Separate your money out, set a spending limit, and stick to it.
Thank you so much for coming on today and bringing the energy. If you guys are going to be way too scared to say anything about money the whole time, can you at least drop a thank you in the chat below if you like this stuff? Derick knows that there's actually people on this right now.
Yeah.
Definitely check his stuff out. I'm going to get the book, and then I always kind of reflect, and then it might be 3 months down the road from now that I finish up, but I'll share it on here and let people know what I think. So, Derick, just again, thanks for coming on and bringing the energy.
You're so welcome, Evan. Good luck to everybody. Have a blessed 2025. Have a prosperous